So welcome to everyone who's joining us on the call. This is the Uncertified Now What Welcome to Dallas Supplier Teleconference. And the purpose of this call is to give you all, as you're preparing to attend the meeting in Dallas, some really tactical advice about making the maximum impact at conference and making sure that your meetings have maximum impact and that you're getting to where you need to go. So I'm Phil Giorgianni. Most of you know me. I'm the Director of Supplier Diversity here at the NGLCC. I'm also joined today by Tim DeWitt, who's one of the owners of OBOX Solutions, which is a recruiting, project management, and software solutions firm that's been certified as an LGBTBE since about 2008, I believe. And they're actually uniquely not only an LGBTBE but also an NGLCC corporate partner. So they have the perspective of both sides of it. And Tim also has a great deal of experience at the Business and Leadership Conference. We're going to be joined shortly by Sam McClure, who's our Director of Affiliate Relations and External Affairs. For those of you who don't know, Sam works really closely with the leaders of our 37 local affiliate chambers nationwide and has a lot of insight on how business can discern and pursue opportunities in general, but specifically today we'll be talking about the conference. So to begin with, I'm just going to give kind of a bird's eye view of everything that's going on at conference. And now would be a good time to let everyone know that if you have any questions, you can send them to Natalie, our Supplier Diversity Fellow, and her email address is N, as in Natalie, Rojas, ROJAS, at nglcc.org, and we'll have time allotted at the end of the call to answer those questions, but you can send them to her whenever you would like to ask them. So for the conference, and for those of you at home, you can see the full agenda if you go to nglcc.org/events and then click on Info and Agenda, and you can get more detailed information, session descriptions, and speaker lists. But I'm just going to kind of go over some of the things that are most relevant to LGBTBEs at the conference. So specifically for LGBTBEs, we have two tracks. Track one is dedicated to strategic growth and development for entrepreneurs, and that track includes things like doing business with the federal government, making your brand relevant, optimizing your web presence, international expansion, and strategic growth as related to your business plan. Track two, Certify Your Success, leveraging your LGBTBE certification, focuses more on the core product of certification, which you can leverage to find opportunities with corporate procurement chains. We have the I'm Certified Now What session, which is kind of the flagship session around what to do using your certification. We have two sessions dedicated to doing business with specific industries, financial services and energy. We have a session on tiered contracting, identifying opportunities at every level. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about that during this call. We have a session on how to respond to an RFP and negotiate the contract you always wanted, which should be a really interesting and engaging workshop format session. Many of you know we are being joined by Les McEwen, the best-selling author of Predictable Success, who's one of our keynote speakers and will instruct attendees on how to build the skills to motivate, engage, and align their team to take their company to predictable success, which is the title of his book. We'll be featuring Chief Diversity Officers Roundtable, featuring the Chief Diversity Officers of RBC Wealth Management, Ernst & Young, and the Human Rights Campaign, and that will explore how diversity is an essential part of building strong, successful, and inclusive enterprises. I'm sure many of you know all about the matchmakers because they've been very busy this past week. By now, everyone should be in the final stages of finalizing or having already finalized your matchmaker meetings with our participating corporate partners. And thanks to the support from our vendor, My Business Matches, we've really stepped up the matchmaking this year in terms of making sure that the matches are based on specific commodity needs as identified by the corporations, and we expect them to be the basis of some really strong opportunities. And if any of you still have questions regarding the matchmakers, you can email them to me or email supplierdiversity@nglcc.org. At this stage, I also want to connect you, draw your attention to the Let's Connect feature on My Business Matches, which allows you guys to connect with each other, with other LGBTBEs for partnership and business-to-business opportunities. If you go into My Business Matches and click on the Supplier directory, you can browse the other LGBTBEs by name and business category. And then if you navigate into their profile, you can click on the Let's Connect button, which allows you to message them. The system doesn't track it formally the way that the corporate matchmakers are. It's kind of up to you guys to keep your own appointments. And we would encourage you to use time on Thursday to make appointments with each other in the American Airlines Lounge, which will be open and which is adjacent to registration, and to use that for your meetings with other LGBTBEs. Again, we have our annual boot camp, which is hosted by Neil Sorbonne of Neil Sorbonne Associates. It's a pre-conference learning experience that distills the core principles of business development into easy and actionable skills. That will be extremely useful during the conference and well beyond. It's an all-day session on Tuesday, the pre-conference day, and it's free. It's included with your registration, but if you want to attend, please email events@nglcc.org to RSVP, so we do need a count for that. This year, building on our teaming workshops from last year, we're going to have industry cluster meetings where we're breaking the LGBTBEs down by their industry to give everyone a chance to meet with their peers for some specific talk around best practices and also exploration of possible partnerships between companies that might be similar but have different specialties. You should all have gotten an email from me about your industry cluster. The clusters, just real quickly, are advertising, marketing, communications, and media is the first, consumer goods, promotion, and retail. We have an events and entertainment industry cluster, professional services, which includes human resources, accounting, consulting, and legal, a coaching industry cluster, and a technology industry cluster, which is construed very broadly to mean technology, hardware, IT services, software programming, any kind of technology solution. So please email me about that. Also, if you were assigned one and you want to move to a different one, that's totally up to you. Just let me know. And those will be taking place after matchmaking is concluded on Thursday at 4:30. Of course, we'll have the Marketplace Expo, which will be open all day at 10:30 through 4:30 on Thursday, excluding the luncheon that day. And that's kind of the bird's eye view of everything that's going on. We're going to kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive later on in the call with Sam into some specific things that we'd like to highlight. But I think now I'm going to hand it over to Tim, and Tim was going to tell us a little bit about how he and his partner Tom prepare for the Business and Leadership Conference and kind of what their experience has been.
Hey, thank you, Phil. Hello, everyone. This will be, I think, our 5th conference that we'll be attending, and what I can tell you is get plenty of rest and take your vitamins because it is nonstop from 7 o'clock in the morning until the evening. Some of the stuff I'm going to go over may be a little redundant or maybe like, I know that, but you'll be surprised. Some people will forget to do something. What do you need to bring with you to the conference? Make sure you have plenty of business cards with you. You have to carry all 500 at one time, but make sure you have a supply you can give out. Make sure that you have your one page, maybe it's a capacity study or what your capabilities are going to be for the client, and always have your elevator speech ready. Be at a given notice, be able to give that off without any problem at all or any hesitation. And then bring something to write with and something to write on, because undoubtedly you'll be at the breakfast when they come and start talking to you, and they want to give you a phone number or an email address or their Supplier Diversity website, and nothing is worse than thinking, can I borrow a pen from you? So be prepared, have your little supply kit ready for you when you go to the conference, and mostly be be prepared for the companies that you really want to reach out for. It can be overwhelming. You get this guidebook if you haven't been to a conference before, and there's 130 some odd corporate partners there, and you're thinking, oh, it would be so great to get every one of these people and talk to every one of these people that are here in the conference. Be realistic and know the people that you're going to be meeting with and something about their company. Being both a corporate partner and a supplier, I can tell you there's nothing that is more of a turnoff for a corporate partner than someone to come to them and say, well, tell me what you do. Well, if they're a corporate partner and you're wanting to meet with them, you should know what they do almost as well as what they do themselves. So do plenty of research. I know Sam's going to talk more and more about the B2B business side of things, but also every time we go to a conference, we'll look at people in our own market space and say, I want to meet with Proximo from New York. I want to meet with somebody, Columbia Consulting, whoever it may be, and we're going to make those meetings happen so that we can actually partner together and be a more bigger impact throughout the year. So do research on your companies, make the connections before you get there for the other certified suppliers. And it can be just a simple email, or maybe they'll say, hey, do you have 15 minutes before breakfast or coffee one morning? Do that and really utilize that time well. And know the people that you're wanting to connect with as well, even the B2B people, because you want to understand their marketplace. If you're in the print market and you need some coverage on the West Coast, go to the database, do a search, and see who you might be able to partner with that could help you do coverage on the West Coast. So make sure that you're doing a lot of research and preparing yourself for the conference. The other thing is when you start reading the program, boy, Phil can go to this, the programs are wonderful. This is probably the heaviest programming I've seen in all the conferences we have been to. And there's so many interesting topics to go to. Well, you may have 3 or 4 or 5 sessions going at one time, and if you're 1 or 2 people, you can't attend every one of those. So try to choose something wisely that's going to really help grow yourself and your business. There may be a topic that's very interesting to you, and that's the mistake we made the first year. It's like, I want to go learn about international business. Well, it had nothing to do with our company, but it was a great session to set in on, too. The solution to that is, obviously research the agenda, the conference agenda, and also bring more people with you. I don't think Phil's going to mind if you order another 3 or 4 tickets today. We need to make sure you have enough coverage there to take advantage of all the good programming. The boot camp, if you've been to the conference before and you thought, well, it was good, but I'm really not sure what I got out of it, go to the boot camp. If you've never been to the conference before, I almost think it should be a requirement to attend the boot camp. Neil does an incredible job with his group to really encourage you in how to be the most effective use of your time at this conference that's going to be in Dallas. So you definitely want to spend time at the boot camp. It sounds overwhelming. It's an all-day thing. You get to take breaks. You get to eat. You get to go to the bathroom, things like that. They're not going to torture you all day long, I promise you. But it's something you really, really want to get involved with and to understand the conference from a whole. We've been doing this for a long time with NGLCC. Prior to that with some other national conferences. And I tell everyone, we are in the IT sector. But if we only had to go to one trade show, one event a year, one conference, it's the NGLCC conference, leadership conference. We have only had to miss 1 year, and we will not miss again. There is so much valuable information there you can gain from the corporate partners. Also from your fellow business owners. The networking that happens at the event is amazing. Let's say you set out your matchmakers and you got 1 meeting or 2 meetings or 3 meetings, and you didn't get that dream company that you wanted. I don't think it's legally called stalking if they're there at the conference. So if they've willingly signed up to be there, you know what? Go find them. Be nice to them. Give them your card. Talk to them. But, really, seriously, they are there for a reason. They do want to help certified suppliers, and, they want to have a success story as much as we want to have one as a supplier. And on the corporate side, we want to have success there and help our suppliers as well. So we kind of walk both sides of the fence. But do not feel afraid to go up to someone and talk to them after a presentation. If you sit in on a conference, afterwards you may notice everyone charges the stage a little bit. Don't be afraid to do that. You hit them up at the reception hour. I always think that probably more business goes on at the receptions, the breakfasts, and the lunches than probably goes on any other time. And these people are very busy. They are going to be seeing, hundreds and hundreds of suppliers. But make sure that you're unique and that you have something to tell them. And one question I think that always comes up, and people are sometimes taken back, if you're whatever space you're into, design, whatever the space may be, is what really makes you different. And we have to ask ourselves that as suppliers, what is so different and unique about us? Why would they use us as opposed to a non-certified company? So be sure that you have that ready. And if you don't have it, email me and we'll work up something. We'll talk about it. But have something unique about yourself or your business that makes you a value to the corporate partners as well and your fellow certified companies. So that really is kind of an overview of what we do to prepare for it. And when you show up for your matchmakers, please have a list of questions ready. They're going to ask you, introduce yourself, ask how long you've been in business, the general stuff, but also have something there that would make you a valuable asset to that corporate partner. They're taking the time out of their day. I think we're doing 13 or 14 matchmakers ourselves with suppliers, and I want to know what they're going to offer to us and what they know about our company. So the more you can be prepared about that, the better. And just come with open mind. Go to every networking event you possibly can go to. Bring more people to the conference if you need to. I think we're going to add another 3 or 4 this week, realizing we cannot cover everything that we're needing to do right now. Have your handouts ready. We're one-pagers that says this is what your company does, and your business cards, and just be engaging. Don't be the type that will come to a conference, sit through it, listen, ask no questions, and then leave and go home and say I didn't get anything out of the conference. This is the best program I've ever seen for the Chamber of Commerce, and as well as any other trade show we go to. There's a lot of heavy programming there. Be engaging. Engage your other fellow suppliers. Call me. You can look at our website. My phone number's out there. Email's there. Have any questions, we can work with you one-on-one to how to really make this matching work. We have been successful on using this new program that they're rolling out this year, the Matchmaker software. Just a few months ago, Phil had sent out an invitation for a large corporate supplier here in the Dallas area. We only had one match. I'm like, I don't even want to waste my time going down there. But we did it, went to the meeting, really hit it off really well with the one match that we had, and we just signed a very large contract with them. That's a multi-year contract. And so it really is being prepared, going and doing the things. Sometimes you think, this isn't the best thing ever, but this software we're using now for this year for the first time for NGLCC is amazing. It lets the corporate partners look at the suppliers can look at the corporate partners, and we can get a snapshot of if there really is a good match there. And if they're not, maybe you don't need to take that time to meet with that company either. Don't try to shoot too big. Narrow your focus when you're looking for the clients, and figure out what you really want out of the conference too. Is it, do you really want to land a huge Fortune 100 company, and can you actually supply them the needs that they're looking for? Or would it make more sense to partner with a fellow business and to go after a contract that way, having more spread or more interest in doing it that way? We can't do everything at one time, so narrow your focus down to 3 or 4 or 5 companies and really know those companies well, and get to know 3 or 4 or 5 of your other certified companies that might be able to do business with you in the future. And Phil, that's kind of in a nutshell what I wanted to talk about. But we'll certainly take questions later on if anything else you want us to talk about as well. But there's been so many success stories at these conferences, and the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. The walk and talks in the morning are going to be wonderful. We did that for the first time last year. And if you're not familiar with that, that's where a corporate partner would sign up, and you would start walking at 7 a.m. to 8 a.m., and some of those people are in really good shape. I tell you, Nancy from HP, don't walk with her. She'll run you into the ground. No, she's really healthy and fit, so I was sweating like a dog last year. But it's going to be indoor this year, so that's nice. We won't be sweating quite as bad, I believe. But it's a good opportunity to talk to them about what's going on with their company, what's going on with their businesses, and also what's going on personally with them. The last bit of advice I want to get is make sure you know what's happening with your corporate partners. If you know they've hired a new CEO, if you know they're going through a merger, if you know their company went through a bankruptcy, what it may be, don't have that information available that you're aware of it, but don't say what's new with your company. If it's been in the headlines or in the business journal for the last 3 years or months or whatever it may be, know something about these people, because that's really going to show them that you have an interest in being there and that you're not wasting anyone's time. So
that's fantastic.
Work hard.
Thanks so much, Tim, and thanks also for mentioning the walk and talks. I did leave those out. Again, those are, if you look at the full agenda on nglcc.org/events, but the walk and talks will be taking place there, and they're kind of another informal version of Matchmakers where you can sign up if you're an early bird at 7 a.m. to walk, to race with Nancy from HP.
Yes, it is a race.
And those are another great opportunity, again. And I also wanted to piggyback on what Tim said, that, if there's anyone that you really wanted to connect with, that you really want to meet, again, certainly don't be afraid to introduce yourself on your own in the expo hall or when you see them. But, the NGLCC staff is also here to connect you with any meeting that you feel you need to have, we can do an introduction before the conference. We can make sure you connect with them there. So please just let us know what your goals are so we can support kind of having them met. And again, I wanted to emphasize, if anyone has any questions for Tim or anything else we talk about as we move forward, you can send those to Natalie. Her email address is N as in Natalie, ROJAS at supplierdiversity.org, and we'll be saving some time at the end for those questions. I wanted to introduce my colleague Sam McClure, who's our Director of Affiliate Relations and External Affairs at the NGLCC. As I mentioned, she works closely with the leaders of our 37 local affiliate chambers and has some valuable insights on how businesses can make the most of their impact at the conference. And she's going to talk especially about the great B2B opportunities that we have here.
Thanks, Phil, and thanks, everybody, for being on the call. It's really a pleasure for me to join the call. First of all, I just want to say yes, yes, yes to everything that Tim just shared. And I just made a note to myself, never follow Tim DeWitt, because you covered a lot of things I wanted to cover. So I applaud you for your view of the conference. I think you're spot on in terms of how to take the best approach to the conference to get the most out of it. Some really great advice in there, and thank you for your generosity of offering to talk with folks one-on-one if they need additional guidance and support. That's really generous, and I really appreciate that.
Certainly, Sam, anytime. Really appreciate it.
So I'm probably not going to use all my time because I think Tim was super thorough, and I would like us to have some time for questions. But I do want to cover just a couple of things. One is I really want to encourage all of you to really think about the peer-to-peer networking that you have within your own ranks as certified suppliers. There are so many opportunities. A supply chain is so complicated, and there are so many different layers or tiers of opportunities. And I think it's really easy to get kind of hyper-focused on the largest opportunities that are at sort of the top of the supply chain. Many of you have seen the NGLCC Roadshow where I draw my chart of the supply chain, and I really think that there are so many opportunities further down that supply chain into Tier 2, 3, and even 4. So just remember to always connect thoughtfully with each other. Even if you're talking to someone who's in the same commodity space that you are, that could still be a really valuable strategic partnership for you. So I want to really encourage you to take advantage of that. And certainly with the new software we have around matchmaking, be sure and take advantage of the Let's Connect feature to just make those good connections that are available to you. And as Tim said, I think preparation is key. Know your strategy, who you want to talk to, and know as much about those folks before you get in front of them as you can. And then a couple of other concepts I just want people to be thinking about. In terms of networking and the connections that we make at the conference, there's a couple of really simple principles that I want you to remember that I think will help you be successful not only at our conference but in all networking spaces. Number one, I think the golden rule in networking is always be positive. A smile just works wonders. Always, always be positive. Tim said have an open mind. I think that's also another critical principle to always remember when you're networking. And the other thing, and I think this is a real gem personally, and I always remind people of this, just remember that in any networking environment, it's not about making deals. Get the relationship. That's what you're there to do, is get the relationship. There'll be plenty of time later to get the business. But in that first opportunity networking, either with a corporate partner or one of your peers or in any other business situation, your first goal is to get the relationship. So take time to get to know people and build really authentic relationships. That will go very far for you in the networking that you do long term. One other thing that I just want to remind everybody is that I think the NGLCC conference is a very unique environment because literally everyone that comes to the conference wants you to succeed. If you look at who our audience is, it's other certified suppliers, it's leaders of local chambers of commerce, and supplier diversity professionals. And those are all groups of people who are invested in your success. So you're going into an environment that's very, very positive, and there's opportunities everywhere you turn. And I would just encourage you to take full advantage of that. There's a saying out there in the business world around networking. They say, never eat alone. And I think that's a really good thing to remember. If you find yourself sitting at a table alone or standing at a reception and you're by yourself, just move and go and connect with people and make sure that you're getting the most out of all the time that you have at the conference. And I would just echo Tim's sentiment that if you need some additional support, if you have concerns or you want to run ideas by someone, feel free to reach out to me as well. Our schedules are a little crazy as we lead up to the conference, but I will make every effort to make time for you as I can. And I wish everyone huge success at the conference, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you. Many of you I haven't seen in a very long time, so I look forward to that. And I'll yield the rest of my time, Phil, so we can take questions.
To the gentleman from New York?
Yeah.
So as we move on to questions, and I just want to say again, if you have any questions either specifically for Tim or Sam or myself or anything related to the conference, just send them to Natalie, and that's at N as in Natalie, ROJAS, at NGLCC.org. So let us see. So, Sam, I'll pose this to you, although we'll kind of answer it together. Where will federal procurement be focused in the conference? So maybe we can talk a little bit about our two sessions related to that.
Great question, and I'm always glad to hear that question because I think we're anxious to continue to open up opportunities in the federal government, and I'm really excited to hear that there's interest. So there's two sessions, breakout sessions specifically that you'll want to go to if you're interested in federal procurement opportunities. One is called SBA A to Z, and it's all about the Small Business Administration and all of the different resources available through the SBA. And I think it's kind of, a lot of people think that the SBA is only about lending, but they actually do a lot in the area of procurement as well. And we will have not only 3 subject matter experts from the SBA. We have the Deputy Director of the SBA will be with us, Eugene Cornelius. And we will, in that session, we also have a representative from the GSA. That's one place. The other place, there's another session. It's called a $100 billion opportunity, and it's basically all about how to do business with the federal government. You could come into that session with no knowledge and walk out with a good working knowledge of how to get started, or if you're already in that space, you'll pick up some kind of insider sort of tips and tricks, if you will, to how to navigate that space effectively to get business. So those are the 2 sessions that I most highly recommend for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're interested in that space, and that's definitely, those sessions are where you should make your priority. So we have another question, which I will pose. I'll pose this to Tim, although maybe I'll throw my own 2 cents in as well. To what extent should you devote some of your matchmakers to asking about the representative themselves? And I assume that means as far as what their role is at the company. So I would say one important thing, which is maybe a little tangential to this question, but it comes to mind, is to be aware of the different roles of the people that you're meeting with. So, for example, if you're meeting with someone who's a supplier diversity representative, then their job is to act as the liaison between you and the procurement folks who are actually making the buying decision. So you should be of the mindset of meeting with them that even though they often don't make the ultimate buying decision, they are an advocate for you and an extra channel. on the flip side, if you're meeting with someone who is in procurement or who is in your specific category, then obviously that is someone who you might, going forward, have a more direct business relationship with, and is someone that's going to be perhaps less concerned with the supplier diversity aspect of the matchmaker. But Tim, I don't know if you have any insight into, as you're taking meetings as a corporate partner, how much they should be interested in finding out more about your company as opposed to just pitching their commodity.
I think it's really a good balancing act, and I think Sam hit on something very important, that it really is about developing that relationship. And one thing we learned early on in the first few years as the matchmakers was, we're in an IT space, so we may be talking to a supplier diversity manager. They're not the person to be talking to about if they're doing any type of migration projects or what databases are they working on. They're not going to get it, and they may feel put off, if you start getting too much into your own segment that you're operating in. So I think that you want to create that relationship with them, find out what their role is. And if they say, I'm with supplier diversity, don't just go, oh, well, okay, thanks. Don't dismiss anyone who's at that conference because they truly do want to be there to help you. But I always like to have a relationship with someone and build on that, because they're going to give my name to somebody or give me a contact, and that we can work on later. And these relationships do take time to build. We talk about the life cycle of the contracts or getting a large Fortune 500 contract, and it can be 2 to 3 years sometimes to get those big contracts. Mm-hmm. I do want someone to ask, from the corporate side, I want them to know something about my company, but them to ask what are our plans. A good question for us is, what do you see your biggest needs being in our space? If whatever commodity you're in, hopefully they can answer that, or at least they can give you a contact of who will be answering that. And Robin has been instrumental with that at American Airlines. She has helped us with 2 or 3 different people getting into their company, and because she's new to the position and she really wants to help people out. So I say do spend 25% of your time at least figuring out who this person is. Even better yet, if you can find out who they are before your match meeting session starts, do a little bit of LinkedIn research on them. Know who's coming from the different corporate partners. And don't say you don't want to be a private investigator by any means, but if you know that this is a supplier diversity manager and they're overall supplier diversity or their procurement manager, ask them the right questions and don't dismiss anybody who's there setting their time and to take the appointment with you as well. So I'd say 25% of the time asking about them and what their company does. You should know about the other 75% of the time to pitch and get that personal relationship started.
Right. Absolutely. Another question, what kinds of collateral should I bring with me in addition to business cards? It is helpful, I know, for a lot of the corporate partners to, if they have a takeaway, but I think people, and Tim can speak to this, everyone has a different preference. Some people would like something that they can physically take away. Some people would prefer to be emailed a collateral or capabilities sheet. So I would just say to be prepared for something to have something together that's brief and that explains who you are and what makes you stand out, and be able to deliver it by whichever vehicle is the preference of the person you're giving it to. And I don't know if Sam or Tim, if you have any additions in reference to collateral specifically.
Well, I'll give you our secret we did last year. And we took like a leather portfolio and put a one-page printout in it. So we did 4 or 5 matchmakers with corporate partners. And, it was something that helped the promotion companies out. We ordered a lot of things from them, but also it left a mark on them. They had a piece of something that had our OBOX name on it, and they had a one-page slick inside of it and our 2 business cards inside. And I tell you, everybody that we gave those to last year, we got a call, an appointment with, later on after the conference. So, spend it however you want to spend it. But I don't know. For the matchmakers, I want to bring something to give them that's going to, ours is a one-pager, and usually stick it into a leather portfolio and give it to them that way.
We have another question regarding best practices for follow-up post-conference to building relationships. And we will be having another teleconference with Neil Cerbone in August that's specifically going to be focused around what to do post-conference to make good on those relationships. Follow-up, first of all, is an excellent idea, and I'm really excited that people are thinking about that already. I would say a good way, especially when you're interacting with the corporate partners, it's always a good idea to do a follow-up. And a lot of them tell me that, you can ask, how often is a follow-up okay? Is it okay if I email you every 3 months? Would you prefer every 6 months, and just record that. You can have that in a spreadsheet, and your follow-up is not necessarily always, hey, do you have any opportunities for me? It could be, news. Maybe you've expanded. Maybe you've hired new employees. Maybe you have a new client that's in their industry that they might be interested in. So I think it's good to be creative about follow-up and also be respectful and just ask, really, because it depends on the person and their role in terms of what follow-up is best. Sam, I don't know if you have anything to build on that.
No, I agree. I think that's very well stated. News about changes to your business is a great idea, because sometimes something has changed for you. You're offering a new service or something that if that supplier diversity advocate doesn't know that, them getting a note that puts that front of mind for them is just a great idea.
Yeah, and don't think that if you're not hard selling them that they don't realize. I mean, they understand what you're doing, and they understand that you're still interested in opportunity, even if that's not explicit. So that's sometimes the softer approach is better when there's not a specific opportunity that you're pursuing, but doing relationship maintenance. So we've had a few people ask about the dress code. So the dress code for the conference is business on Wednesday and business casual Thursday and Friday. We, it is very hot in Dallas, so I think people will be, understanding if you're not in a tuxedo and a ball gown. But we do recommend business on Wednesday and business casual Thursday and Friday. And of course, it's up to you how you like to do business. If you have any more specific questions, then you can email us directly, and we will let you know.
And, Phil, don't forget cowboy hats are required. So
they are required, but we'll be giving them out at registration.
Just kidding.
Sorry. So, okay, here's an interesting question. How should we structure our breaks in terms of deepening our relationships with the corporate partners? So I assume this is referring to any kind of downtime, whether it's in between sessions, which is not very long, or when you don't have meetings on matchmakers on Thursday, or during receptions. I think, and I'll defer to Sam on this, that there's kind of a different way, when you're interacting with someone in the matchmakers, you're kind of making that formal pitch. If you're meeting someone at a reception, at a break, you obviously want to let them know who you are and let them know what kind of solution you can bring to them, but maybe it, is not so dense or distilled. And I think a lot of it is knowing, kind of being aware of when to move the conversation forward and maybe when it's a good time to connect with someone else that's also high on your target list. Sam, and I don't know if you have any ideas specifically, when you're navigating downtime or breaks or, evenings and you're looking to connect with people.
Well, I would agree with everything that you just said, Phil, and I would just add that, again, just remember it really is building relationships is essential, and there are a lot of ways to do that. And, one of the most important principles in terms of how we connect with others is common ground. And it might not be the thing that you think it's going to be. For example, I once built a very, very powerful business relationship with someone that I met at a dog show because it turned out we both were dog people. We both had dogs, and that was a big thing for us, and that's how we connected. It wasn't actually around what would eventually become our business relationship. And even at the time when I met her, I knew that there was this other connection that I wanted to make with her, but it was the rapport building that laid the ground for a really powerful connection that ended up being very effective long term. So if you're in a social environment like a reception, there's nothing wrong with shifting gears and talking about your family or your hobbies. A lot of business people bond at the golf course, so who knows if there's something that you're really interested in or certain types of films or something, there's always that time to really make the personal connection with people. And it's really important to just read people, as Phil said, sort of knowing when to move along, just pay attention to people's body language and be responsive to that. Mm-hmm. When you're outside of the matchmaker, you're really in a much more social situation. And that doesn't mean that the conversations won't turn to business, but I think you need to be open to the fact that get to know each other as people as well. And that can go a long way. And I would also I want to just go back, we talked about this earlier, but I can't emphasize the value of the walk and talk enough connected to this topic. There's something really different about having a conversation with someone while you're walking around than there is if you're sitting at a table facing each other. When you're moving, you're more creative, the endorphins are flowing, people's energy level's high. It's just a different environment, and it's much more personal, I think. So please think about those. And I know I'm not a morning person, so I know what it means to have to get up and go early, but it's a really valuable opportunity.
Absolutely, yeah, that's really valuable. So someone asked, is a client list helpful to bring? I would go ahead and say the short answer is yes, with the caveat, if you have 200 clients or, if you're bringing your entire client history, I'm not sure anyone's going to, pour through it with a magnifying glass. I do know that corporate partners will be very interested in, who else you've worked with, and if you've worked with other people in the industry. So that's something that I would imagine you would know, but it could be something that you'd want to include in your collateral, probably just top projects that you want to highlight, although that may be specific to different industries. When is the best time to meet with other LGBTBEs? So if you're using the Let's Connect function, we would ask you to be respectful of other people's experience and not suggest times during panel sessions or plenaries that they would like to attend. A good time is Thursday when the corporate matchmakers will be taking place, but you should be able to find some time during the day, hopefully, where neither one of you has meetings taking place. As I mentioned, we have the American Airlines Lounge, which is adjacent to registration. You'll see it when you get registered the first day. And there's seating there. There's also seating around the hotel, around the property that you'll be able to utilize. And piggybacking on that, someone asked, how should we approach meeting LGBTBEs versus corporate partners? I think that's a really interesting question. It really depends on the company. I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that you're meeting someone who's in the same position as you, who's a certified LGBT business owner, who's there, perhaps to mostly meet with large corporations, but is also interested in meeting other LGBTBEs. I would say that to be direct, as I said, you can view, if you click on Supplier Directory in My Business Matches, you can browse portals. You can browse the profiles of the other suppliers. So I would just message them and just be direct, whether you're seeking a business opportunity, you're seeking to sell to them, you think you'd be interested in them as a possible vendor to you, or whether you're interested in some kind of partnership or referral network. I think directness is the most important thing because that will let them know kind of whether or not it's a good fit to schedule the meeting. And Sam, I don't know if you have any additional advice in terms of, the business owners interacting with each other. This is kind of a new function for us in terms of the way it technologically it's new. But I think directness would be the most important thing. But I don't know, Sam, if you have anything to add.
I think that's all really, really well said. And yeah, just be strategic with your time. And, remember that, there's quite a bit of space in the agenda that may not be as high a priority for you as making those connections. Like, for example, there's some film screenings which are going to be amazing. And it also... You have to look at your time. If you have an opportunity to take a really valuable meeting during that time, you probably want to do that. Friday in particular, after the roll the dice session, there's quite a lot of open space in the agenda. And, if you're not flying out till later, you're not flying out till the next day, that might be a really good time. And if you know that there's people you want to meet with in advance of the conference, go ahead and send them a note and say, hey, can we plan something? They may say, yeah, let's have breakfast at 7:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be a great opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, building off of that, someone had asked specifically about the film screenings. Should I expect opportunities and networking at those events? I would say yes to the extent, building on what Sam explained before, that, in those social settings, it could be, you could make a connection that could be very fruitful and deep and lead to business opportunities down the road. But to be, honest about what it is, I don't know if I'd label the film screening specifically as being structured as networking opportunities. So you do have to be thoughtful if you want to take a meeting during that time instead. Kind of be thoughtful about what's the best use of your time. All right. Well, if anyone has any additional questions, this conference is going to be recorded, and it will be available online so we can share with everyone else. And if you have any additional questions, you can send them to us. We're here for you between now and the conference and, of course, during the conference. And I just wanted to thank Tim DeWitt from OBOX Solutions and Sam McClure for their valuable insight, and for everyone else who joined us today. And we look forward to seeing you in Dallas.